story. Thanks, Steve, for ratting me out. I actually got crap taking calls the day after surgery. They were joking. The first one, surgeon, no, just hold on, I gotta take this one call. That is me. All right, so who knows what the butterfly effect is? What is it?
Weird movie.
Besides the movie.
Butterflies are fluttering its wings on one side of the earth and affecting the other side.
Exactly.
And a dinosaur dies.
And the dinosaurs die. Damn butterfly. That cute little butterfly. No, seriously, the butterfly effect is truly that. So, cause and effect. So the butterfly, as small as it is, can affect the weather across the world, right? So did you know that in 1963 it was actually a thesis that was laughed at? That scientists and the professors they thought that, you know, he was a joke by writing this thesis. This guy, I forget who wrote the thesis. But did you know that? And that it stayed in our culture and in our world and in our minds because of urban legends, because of, you know, because there was like this possibility, like we see butterfly effects in our lives if we really think about it. The effect that we have or the effect that somebody else has had that has in turn caused this kind of like chain of events, the connectivity, right? And so in the 90s, scientists proved it to be true. They proved that the butterfly flapping its wings could cause a tsunami in, you know, wherever across the world. So I'm telling you this, and for those of you who haven't been a part of my presentations, this drives me insane. I will tie it back into B&I. But I want to give you a little bit of a history story about a butterfly effect that was documented. In 1970, Norman Borlaug won a Nobel Peace Prize. Does anybody know who Norman Borlaug is? Nobody did in my other B&I meeting. He won it for hybridizing corn and wheat for arid climates. He hybridized corn and wheat for arid climates. He was, in the 70s, they confirmed that he saved over 2 billion people from famine. That's why he won this. 2 billion people from famine, right? So, but Norman actually, so he won this prize. But it kind of goes a little bit deeper than that. So there's this guy called Henry Wallace. Does anybody know who Henry Wallace is? He was Vice President of the United States underneath Roosevelt, I think it was. Roosevelt had 3 vice presidents underneath his 4 terms, and he was the middle one. And Norman Wallace, actually, he believed in agriculture. He believed like in sustainability, even way back then. And via his vice president's clout and his accessibility, he started a plant/lab in Mexico that would start looking into how we can sustain through agriculture, how we can change things, and how we can essentially, hopefully, save the world. Howard hired Norman as a young boy. So really, when we think about it, Howard should have got the Nobel Peace Prize, right? Because he hired Howard in order to be able to...
Oh, his mom should have. Had it.
Oh, yeah, for those of us who have done that, yes. So, then there was this guy called George Washington Culver. Who knows him? Or Carver, sorry. Yes. George Washington Carver. Peanuts. Everybody knows him for the peanuts. But did you know that he actually came up with the peanuts because he found out about farmers during his time were suffering. The crops were suffering because they would plant corn over and over and over and over again. So he came up with the idea of crop rotation. And peanuts was one of them because it substantially put nutrients back into the ground. And so then all of a sudden there were all these peanuts, and he's like, well, holy crap, what do I got to do? So he came up with 266 different proven ways to use peanuts, 88 different ways to use sweet potatoes, so on and so forth. So this man created pretty cool crap. But when he was a 19-year-old student in Iowa, his science whatever teacher, one of his science teachers, professors, had this 6-year-old little boy that he would allow to go on field trips and botanical kind of like pilgrimages every weekend with this young George Washington Carver. Guess who that boy was? Henry Wallace. Henry Wallace was that 6-year-old boy. So really, if we think about it, because of George Washington Carver, why do I keep calling him Culver? Because of George Washington Carver, Henry Wallace got the love of agriculture. and he opened up the plant, which in turn hired Norman, which in turn saved 2 billion lives. I'm going to go one step further. In the days where slavery was a thing, there were different states that were slavery states and other states that weren't. Missouri was a state that was a slavery state. There was a couple, Moses and Susan. Moses and Susan didn't believe in slavery, so they had a safe house. And so all of these slaves could come there and be safe, or they might have been slaves at one time or whatnot. But one night, late at night, they were attacked, and a bunch of people were killed, and this mama and baby, Mary Washington, was taken away by these horsemen. And Mary was actually Susan's best friend. Like, they were best friends. And Susan was so distraught. And so Moses started doing the coconut wireless, because back then we didn't have phones, right? And said, I want to meet you and I want to do a negotiation. He rode in the middle of the night to Kansas, and with his only horse, and he traded his only horse for this baby that Mary had. This baby had the whooping cough, had every single thing pinned up against him, and his name was George Washington. And Moses gave him his last name, Carver, and said, I'll raise you and I'll treat you like my own. And that is who George Washington Carver came from. So, in the big scheme of things, really we have Moses and Susan to thank, right? So, why I'm telling you the story, I just thought it was fascinating. I was like, that is amazing. Actually, the first time I heard it, tears were rolling down my eyes because it was just so emotional. Because really, when you think about it, like the effect that we have on people, we don't even know. The effect that we have on our being in our universe, we will never see the complete effect, the complete circle, because it's not a circle. It is a connection. It's like one dot connects to another dot, and it just kind of spans out. We never know. So why am I telling you this? First of all of my talks, I definitely believe in whatever I say. I've applied to not just B&I, but to my business, to my life, to my spiritual life, to my craziness, to my kids, to my everything, right? So I'm hoping that you can take away a nugget today and apply it to whatever speaks to you. But in turn, I want you to apply it to B&I, because really, B&I has its own effect, as Jody said this morning, it really does. But we have the possibility of changing so much. Just 3 years ago, 4 years ago, Alii Networkers was forming. And we went through this effect. And there have been negative effects from our butterflies and positive effects from our butterflies. So what I'm challenging you, and please tell me when I have like 1 minute, sorry.
2 minutes, 20 seconds.
Excellent. So what I want to challenge you, because I definitely want to have always a call to action at the end, is I want you to start thinking about your butterfly effect and what the difference that you can make in your little bitty life, because it's not just your life that you can affect. It truly, truly isn't. I mean, what Jimmy's doing in his line of work, he's affecting lives for so many generations. He's saving people's lives, right? He's giving them a new tool. He's giving them all these different things. So think about your butterfly effect, and I want you to think about it in B&I, because it's really important. You might say, I can show up late this one time. It's not going to really cause anything. I can be absent. I can have a sub. I forgot my referrals, or really, I don't really have the B&I spirit, but I get it. I'm just going to show up. What effect is that going to have? You might see some positiveness, but is it long term? Could there be more? Could you do more? So what do you want your effect to be? This last week has kind of made me sit back, since I couldn't do anything per doctor's orders and everybody was checking on me, so I couldn't even sneak it, but my body wasn't really letting me to. But really to sit back and for me to kind of evaluate like what my effect has been and where I wanted to go. And I don't even know, like I am intuitive, and I have gotten people to come to me and say, you've saved my life. By you showing up at this moment, you saved my life. But in retrospect, my girlfriend and my naturopath, her showing up, she possibly saved my life, because I wasn't going to go to the doctor. So, this is livelihood, but you can do this to the smallest little things. But if we don't even think about it, if we don't think about the connections that we possibly could have, how can we improve? How can we make it better? How can we make it in a more positive manner? How can we make it more impactful? So I'm challenging all of you to think of your butterfly effect and really kind of the one that you can grasp, right? Because all of us can grasp at different levels, and see how you can change it. See how you can make it more positive. See how you can better it, make it better. Because we can always strive to do more, be more, and want more. So, thank you.